Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. Here, we are going to share with you a fascinating historical story. It is about the burial culture in ancient China. Focusing particularly on the story of Abahai, the consort of Nurhaci, the founding emperor of the Qing Dynasty. Abahai was the only empress in Qing history recorded as having been buried alive with the emperor, which makes her stand out as a particularly unique figure in Chinese history. This story is not only about ancient customs, but also about family, power, and cultural transformation. Rich in drama and complexity. In ancient China, especially during the prehistoric period and the early dynasties, people commonly believed that after death, one would continue living in another world. This belief was deeply rooted in traditional culture, shaping how people understood death. For those of high rank and status, such as emperors and ministers, they hoped that their afterlife would be just as grand, with servants and luxury accompanying them beyond the grave. Thus, the practice of burial sacrifices and companion burials emerged. Burial sacrifice referred to the act of having people or objects follow the deceased into the next world, to continue serving them after death. Though this may seem distant or even bizarre today, at the time it was an integral part of social beliefs, reflecting people's imaginations about death and the afterlife. However, the specific practices varied greatly between dynasties. Some dynasties preferred using clay figurines, artifacts, or animals as burial objects, while others involved living people. Live burial sacrifices differed across time and region. Some were voluntary, while others were forced, because of the enormous cost involved. This kind of practice was usually reserved for figures of the highest status, like emperors. In practice, the most common companions buried with the deceased were usually the servants who had cared for them in life, or especially favored concubines. These individuals were believed to be able to continue serving the master in the afterlife. However, the emperor's primary wife, the Empress, was rarely required to be buried alive. This was because the Empress was often the birth mother or legal mother of the future emperor, holding a unique and indispensable position in continuing the royal bloodline. But the story we are telling here is an exception. Abahai, the consort of Nurhaci, founding emperor of the Qing Dynasty. She was not only Nurhaci's most favored de Fujin, a title equivalent to Empress, but was also forced to commit burial sacrifice after his death. This was extremely unusual in history, because with her rank and position, she should not have been subjected to such a fate. So, was Abahai's death truly voluntary? Or was she drawn into a complex power struggle? What secrets lie behind her story? According to historical records, Abahai was born in 1590, during the 18th year of the Yongle reign in the Ming Dynasty. She was a member of the Nara clan, a prominent Jurchen family. The name Nara may sound familiar. You might recall that in the TV series Empresses in the Palace, the Empress of Emperor Yongle also bore the name Nara. However, our protagonist Abahai is not the same person as that empress, though they did belong to the same noble clan. The Nara name signified noble blood and strong clan background among the Jurchen people. In the early Ming dynasty, the Jurchens were mainly divided into three groups: the Jianzhou Jurchens, the Haishi Jurchens, and the Wild Jurchens. By the mid to late Ming period, the Haishi Jurchens were further divided into four tribes: Hada, Hoifa, Yeha, and Ula. Among these, the Ula tribe was the strongest of the four, with its territory stretching across the Songhua River basin in what is now Jilin province. In the Manchu language, Ula means river. So the Ula tribe can be understood as the nation by the river. It had a strategic location and abundant resources. Abahai was born in the Ula capital, Ula city, which corresponds to present-day Jilin city. Her father was Mantai, the third-generation ruler of the Ula tribe. A position equivalent to a tribal king. Therefore, Abahai's background was of high nobility. She could be called a Jurchen princess. Raised in a privileged environment and well-educated. However, fate soon struck Abahai with her first tragedy. In 1596, when she was not yet 7 years old. Her father Mantai died during a border inspection. There are two main versions of the story about Mantai's death. One claims that he was killed by the husband of a woman he had forcefully taken, while the other believes he was murdered by his own uncle, Xinia, lord of Salta city in the Ula tribe, who sought to usurp power. Many historians lean toward the second explanation. Because after Mantai's death, Xinia did in fact seize power in Ula for a time. This upheaval not only took away Abahai's father, but also destabilized the Ula tribe's political structure. According to the traditions of the Ula tribe, if a ruling chieftain did not designate a successor, the new leader would be chosen through consultation among the clan elders. After Mantai's death, his younger brother Bujantai, with the support of Nurhaci, leader of the Jianzhou Jurchens, and the Ula clan, successfully became the new ruler. So why did Nurhaci support Bujantai? To understand this, we need to look at the earlier historical background, which involves the power struggles within the Jurchen tribes and the complex relationships among clans. Let's go back to 1588, the 16th year of the Yongle reign of the Qing Dynasty. At that time, after 5 years of military campaigns, Nurhaci unified the 5 major tribes of the Jianzhou Jurchens, becoming their sole leader. This talented young leader was ambitious, and not content with ruling only the Jianzhou Jurchens. He continued to expand his territory and attack other small tribes, growing increasingly powerful. This expansion alarmed the Hejing Jurchens, who had long been the dominant force among the Jurchens. By 1593, the 21st year of Yongle, the Yehe tribe of the Hejing Jurchens united with the Ula, Hoifa, and Mongol Korchan tribes, forming an alliance of 9 tribes with a total of 30,000 troops, attempting to eliminate Nurhaci and his Jianzhou Jurchens in one decisive strike. This conflict became known as the Battle of the 9 Tribal Alliance, a massive confrontation for the time. Surprisingly, Nurhaci defeated the much larger force with a smaller army, inflicting a crushing defeat on the alliance. During this battle, Bujantai, a leading figure of the Ula tribe and younger brother of Mantai, was captured by Nurhaci. However, Nurhaci did not harm him. Instead, he treated Bujantai as an honored guest, demonstrating exceptional political skill. 3 years later, when Mantai passed away and the Ula tribe was thrown into a power vacuum, Nurhaci decisively sent Bujantai back to Ula, and supported him in becoming the new ruler. Once in power, Bujantai naturally chose to ally with Nurhaci's Jianzhou Jurchens to strengthen his position. To further solidify this alliance, Bujantai pursued a strategy of marriage ties. In 1596, he married off his sister Huna to Nurhaci's younger brother, Nurhaci. 2 years later, in 1598, Bujantai himself married Nurhaci's eldest daughter, Manguji. Through these series of political marriages, the Ula and Jianzhou tribes became more closely connected, forming a temporary alliance both politically and militarily. By 1601, the 29th year of Yongle, Nurhaci destroyed the Hatta tribe, one of the major Hejing Jurchen branches. This alarmed Bujantai, ruler of the Ula tribe. The fall of the Hatta meant that Nurhaci's power was expanding even further. And as an important branch of the Hejing Jurchens, the Ula tribe feared they might be next. In an effort to further strengthen the alliance with the Jianzhou Jurchens, in November of the same year, Bujantai personally escorted his niece, the 12-year-old Abahai, daughter of his late brother Mantai, to be married to the 42-year-old Nurhaci. This marriage was not just a political alliance. It also marked Abahai's formal entry into the center of the Jurchen political arena. Before discussing Abahai's marriage, it is worth briefly introducing the marriage system of the Jurchens. The Jurchens practiced polygamy, and all formal wives were referred to as fujin, enjoying equal status, with all their children regarded as legitimate heirs. Below the fujin were concubines of lower status, called little fujin or lesser wives. Later, after the Qing Dynasty entered China proper, a more hierarchical structure emerged, with titles such as primary consort, di fujin, secondary consort, che fujin, and concubine, gij. However, even during Nurhaci's reign, the title de fujin, great consort, had already emerged, a position equivalent to that of an empress, responsible for managing the inner court and holding the highest status among the wives. When Abahai married Nurhaci, he already had at least 8 fujin wives, despite a 30-year age gap. Historical records note that Abahai was very beautiful and exceptionally intelligent, which earned her great favor from Nurhaci. Her beauty and wisdom allowed her to quickly stand out in the imperial harem. In 1603, the 31st year of the Yongle reign, Nurhaci's beloved consort and the birth mother of Hong Taiji, Menguzhizha of the Yehe Nara clan, died of illness. At just 14 years old, Abahai was appointed as de fujin, primary consort, officially becoming the chief woman in Nurhaci's harem. This young girl took on the responsibility of managing the inner court, reflecting the trust and affection Nurhaci had for her. In 1605, the 33rd year of Yongle, at age 16, Abahai gave birth to her first son, Nurhaci's 12th son, Jade. In 1612, the 40th year of Yongle, she gave birth to her second son, Nurhaci's 14th son, Dorgon, who would later become the famous Prince Regent. In 1614, the 42nd year of Yongle, Abahai gave birth to her third son, Nurhaci's 15th son, Dodo. At this time, Nurhaci's career was at its peak. In 1616, in Hechu Ala, modern-day Fushun, Liaoning, he formally declared himself Quan, establishing the dynasty named Jin, historically known as the later Jin, with the reign title Tianming. As de fujin, Abahai's status became even more secure, not only overseeing the harem but also playing a political role. Although Abahai enjoyed great favor in Nurhaci's harem, her natal clan, the Ula tribe, was gradually declining. Bujantai, despite maintaining a friendly relationship with Nurhaci through marriage alliances, faced growing tensions as the power of the Jianzhou Jurchens expanded. In 1612, Bujantai allied with the Mongol Korchan tribe, and attempted to attack the Hura tribe, which had been occupied by Nurhaci. He even imprisoned his own wife, Menguji, who was Nurhaci's niece. This act greatly enraged Nurhaci. In 1613, Nurhaci personally led troops to attack the Ula tribe, marching straight into Ula city. Bujantai was defeated and fled to the Yehe tribe, marking the end of the Ula state's more than 50-year reign. Despite the fall of the Ula tribe, Abahai's status remained unaffected. On the contrary, Nurhaci's affection for her only grew stronger. After giving birth to Dodo in 1614, she continued to serve as de fujin, managing the harem. Nurhaci even granted military units, Niru, from his elite plain yellow banner and bordered yellow banner, to Abahai's 3 sons. A Niru, or Kauri, was the basic unit in the Manchu 8-banner system, comprising about 300 men. This demonstrated Nurhaci's special favor toward the 3 brothers. Jade was appointed commander of the bordered yellow banner. Dodo commanded the plain yellow banner, and Dorgon was intended to lead the bordered white banner, though he was not officially appointed. This arrangement gave the 3 young sons nearly equal power with the senior Bales, princes. causing discontent among their elder brothers. In 1620, the 5th year of Tianming, a major incident occurred in Nurhaci's harem. A lesser wife named Taincha secretly reported to Nurhaci that Defujin Abahai was too close to Prince Daisan, Nurhaci's second son. Daisan, being the second son, had effectively become the eldest after Nurhaci's first son, Qianlong, was executed for a violent temperament. Taincha claimed that Abahai often sent food to Daisan and the fourth Baal, Hong Taiji. Daisan would happily accept the food, while Hong Taiji accepted it but never ate it. She also claimed that Abahai frequently sent messengers to Daisan's residence and would dress up elaborately at banquets where Daisan was present, attempting to get close to him. Even more suspiciously, someone reportedly saw Abahai leave the palace at night. Nurhaci was enraged upon hearing this and ordered an investigation, which confirmed part of the allegations. Among the Jurchens, there was a custom called levirate marriage, in which a widow could marry her deceased husband's brother or son to ensure her well-being. Nurhaci had once expressed that, after his death, Daisan should take care of Abahai and her sons, suggesting Daisan might have been considered a potential successor. This may have prompted Abahai to get closer to Daisan, in hopes of securing her position and her son's future. Nevertheless, Nurhaci could not tolerate an overly intimate relationship between his wife and son. He accused Abahai of hiding personal property and stripped her of her title as Defujin. Taincha, for her report, was honored with the rare privilege of dining at the same table with Nurhaci. However, only a year later, 1621, the 6th year of Tianming, some historical sources mention the title Defujin again, implying that Abahai may have been reinstated. Historians have different interpretations. One theory is that the Defujin who was dismissed and later reinstated was indeed Abahai. Another believes it was a different consort named Gundai who was deposed, and that Abahai was never removed from her position. Gundai was another wife of Nurhaci. Historical records state that she was executed for a crime, and the timing coincided with the incident of Taincha's report. Some scholars speculate that her son, Mangultai, may have taken her life himself in order to distance himself from his mother. Regardless of the exact circumstances, it is generally believed that after 1621, the position of the primary consort, Defujin, was held by Abahai. In 1622, the 7th year of the Tianming era, the 63-year-old Nurhaci introduced the system of 8 Hashua Baal jointly governing state affairs, meaning that major national decisions were to be handled collectively by several Baal, even after his death. These included the 4 senior Baal, Daisan, Amin, Mangultai, and Hong Taiji, and the 4 junior Baal, Hejing, Dorgon, Dodo, and Yongle. Although Abahai's 3 sons were still young, Hejing was 17, Dorgon 10, and Dodo 7. They were included in the power core, showing how much Nurhaci valued them. In 1626, the 11th year of Tianming, Nurhaci led a campaign against the Ming stronghold of Ningyuan, only to suffer one of the rare major defeats in his military career. The battle, commanded by Ming General Yuan Chonghuan, was a significant setback. 3 months later, Nurhaci launched a successful campaign against the Barren Mongols. However, in July of the same year, he suddenly fell seriously ill and went to recover at Tangquan in Qinghe, modern-day Benshi, Liaoning. As his condition worsened, he decided to return to Shenyang and summoned Abahai to accompany him. On August 11, Nurhaci died at Agi Fort near Shenyang, at the age of 68. According to the veritable records of the Taizu of Qing, the day after Nurhaci's death, the Baal led by Hong Taiji claimed that Nurhaci had left a final command. The primary consort Abahai was to be buried with him, on the grounds that she was beautiful and intelligent, and could pose a threat to the state in the future. Abahai strongly resisted, but was ultimately forced to commit suicide at the age of just 37. At the time, her 2 younger sons, Dorgon and Dodo, were only 14 and 12 years old, respectively. In addition, 2 lesser consorts were buried alive with her, one of whom may have been Tainja, the informant. Abahai's forced death sparked widespread controversy. First, while the Jurchens did have burial sacrifice customs, they usually applied only to low-ranking concubines, and only with the woman's consent during her lifetime. Abahai, as the primary consort of high status and with young children to raise, should not have qualified for such a fate. Second, the supposed final command from Nurhaci was not spoken by him personally, but relayed through Hong Taiji and others, making its authenticity highly questionable. Abahai's fierce opposition upon hearing the burial order also suggests she had no prior knowledge of such a will. Many historians believe that Abahai's death was a calculated political move by Hong Taiji and his allies. At 37, she was in her prime, intelligent and capable. Her 3 sons, especially Dorgon, were exceptionally talented and had already gained considerable power at a young age, posing a potential threat to Hong Taiji's bid for the throne. According to the Korean chronicle Chunbadang Ilwolrak, Nurhaci had expressed on his deathbed that Dorgon should succeed him, with Daesan acting as regent. If true, then Hong Taiji would have had to eliminate Abahai to claim power. Abahai and her 3 sons represented the greatest obstacle to his succession, especially Dorgon, who would later display outstanding military and political talent in the early Qing Dynasty. After Nurhaci's death, Hong Taiji swiftly assumed power, changed the dynastic name to Great Qing, and posthumously honored his own mother, Lady Mongo Jurjur, as Empress Xiaosiwu. However, Abahai received no posthumous title, and no ancestral tablet was set up for her. In 1650, when Dorgon became the regent for the Xuanji Emperor, he posthumously honored his mother as Empress Xiaoliwu. But that same December, Dorgon died unexpectedly from a fall while riding a horse, at the age of just 38. Dissatisfied with Dorgon's overreach, the Xuanji Emperor stripped him of all titles and honors, revoked Abahai's posthumous title, and removed her ancestral tablet from the imperial shrine. Over a century later, Emperor Qianlong rehabilitated Dorgon, restoring his title of Prince Rui. But Abahai's title was never reinstated. According to several historians, Abahai's life story is filled with tragic elements. She was born into nobility, gifted with beauty and intelligence, and became Nurhaci's most favored wife, only to fall victim to the power struggles of the early Qing court. Her 3 sons, especially Dorgon, left a profound mark on Qing history, but her own name has nearly been erased from memory. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.